It was in the morning on the Maiduguri Gubio road. The sun is already up over the Borno savannah, casting long shadows across the main supply route, a vital artery for communities trying to survive in a region that has known war for too long. A Toyota pickup truck approaches a checkpoint. It looks ordinary, planks of wood stacked in the back, probably heading to a construction site somewhere. The driver seems calm. The three men inside appear to be just traders going about their business. But the troops at Forward Operating Base Chabbal have learned to look beyond appearances. Before we take you inside this interception and what it means for the fight against terror, let me ask you, how much of the suffering in the Northeast do you think is enabled by ordinary-looking vehicles carrying everyday items? If you believe in supporting the troops who stand between us and chaos, hit that like button and subscribe. This story will change how you see the road. The Forward Operating Base Chabbal sits astride one of the most strategic routes in the Northeast theater of Operation HADIN KAI. It's not glamorous work. Day in, day out, troops wave down vehicles, check documents, peer into loads, and ask questions. It's tedious, it's repetitive, but it is also the sieve through which everything must pass. On February 26, 2026, at exactly 8:30 a.m., a Toyota pickup truck rolled up to that checkpoint. The soldiers on duty did what they always do. They signaled the vehicle to stop. They asked the routine questions, and then they began to search. Now, at this point, the three male occupants probably thought they had done enough. The vehicle was loaded with planks of wood, a common sight, nothing suspicious. But the troops of FOB Chabbal are not ordinary soldiers. They are veterans of a long war. They know that in this conflict, the most dangerous weapons are often disguised as the most innocent objects.
Let's look closely at what the search revealed. As the soldiers began to lift the planks, they discovered that the wood was not a cargo, it was a cover. Hidden beneath were items that told a clear story, one that counter-insurgency experts have learned to read like a book. First, there were large textile fabrics, yards and yards of cloth. To a civilian, this is just material for clothing, but to a soldier fighting ISWAP, these fabrics are potential uniforms. They are the camouflage that allow terrorists to blend in, to move undetected, to present themselves as something they are not. Then there were 20 Hilux tire tubes. Think about that number, 20. Not one or two for a personal vehicle, but a bulk quantity that speaks to a fleet. The Hilux pickup is the vehicle of choice for insurgent groups across the Sahel. Durable, versatile, capable of navigating harsh terrain. These tires were not for one truck, they were for an arsenal on wheels. Motorcycle spare parts were also recovered. In the dense forest of the Northeast, motorcycles are the silent assassins. They move quietly, quickly, through paths too narrow for trucks. They are used for hit-and-run attacks, for moving fighters, for transporting small arms. Keeping a fleet of motorcycles operational requires a steady supply of parts, and this vehicle was carrying exactly that. 10 cutlasses were found. Now, a cutlass can be a farming tool, but in the hands of terrorists, it becomes something else entirely. An instrument of terror, used in brutal attacks on vulnerable communities. And then there were 3 mobile phones. In modern insurgency, phones are perhaps the most valuable intelligence asset. They contain contacts, call logs, location data, and connections to the wider network. All of this was hidden under planks. All of it was intended to reach the terrorists hiding in the bush.
Let's pause and think about the human side of this interception. 3 men were in that vehicle. 3 men who, according to military sources, are now in custody, handed over to the 7th Mechanized Infantry Brigade for further investigation. Who are they? Were they willing collaborators, ideologically committed to the terrorist cause? Or were they coerced, perhaps threatened, perhaps paid a small sum to transport items they knew were wrong, but felt they had no choice? We don't know yet. The investigation will determine that. But here's the thing about logistics in insurgency warfare. It relies on ordinary people. The terrorist in the forest didn't weave that fabric. He didn't manufacture those tire tubes. He didn't import those motorcycle parts. Civilians living in towns and villages going about their daily lives are often the ones who source, transport, and deliver these items. Sometimes they know exactly what they are doing. Sometimes they are deceived. Sometimes they are caught between the threat of starvation and the threat of the gun. This is the tragic complexity of the Northeast conflict. The same roads that carry food and medicine to communities also carry the means of their destruction. The same markets that sell goods to ordinary families also serve as supply nodes for terror networks.
Now, from this point, we need to understand why this interception matters beyond the immediate seizure. This is not just about 3 men and a truck full of parts. This is about strategy. Military analysts will tell you that an insurgency is like a living organism. It needs food, water, weapons, ammunition, fuel, and spare parts to survive. Cut off the supply, and the organism weakens. It becomes less mobile, less capable, less deadly. It starts to make mistakes. It starts to die. This is precisely what Operation HADIN KAI is doing. The interception at FOB Chabbal is not an isolated event. It is part of a deliberate, sustained campaign to strangle ISWAP's logistics networks. Just days before this incident, troops in the same sector intercepted a vehicle carrying a staggering 37 million naira in cash, concealed in bags, along with mobile phones suspected to be linked to terrorist financing. Think about that. 37 million naira. That is not pocket change. That is the lifeblood of an insurgency. Money to buy weapons, to pay fighters, to bribe informants, to sustain operations. Earlier in February, troops foiled an ISWAP attack on Forward Operating Base Auno, then launched a counter-offensive along the Komala axis, killing 16 terrorists and recovering over 20 bicycles and a large cache of logistics items. Bicycles. Simple, cheap, silent, but essential to terrorist mobility. And just last December, troops intercepted 2 pickup vans carrying 31 spare tires, 23 spare rims, ignition starters, alternators, food supplies, and even children's clothing, all destined for ISWAP fighters. Children's clothing. Because these terrorists don't just fight, they live. They have families, they have children, they have needs. And every one of those needs represents a supply line that the military is working tirelessly to cut.
Another angle to this issue is the role of the community. These interceptions don't happen by magic. They happen because of intelligence. Information gathered from locals who are tired of terror, who want peace, who cooperate with security forces. Operation HADIN KAI has consistently emphasized that operations are often conducted in synergy with the Civilian Joint Task Force, CJTF. These are local vigilantes, ordinary citizens who have taken up the responsibility of defending their communities. They know the terrain, they know the faces, they know when a stranger appears or when a vehicle looks wrong. The interception at FOB Chabbal was the result of routine checkpoint operations. But routine doesn't mean random. It means constant vigilance. It means every vehicle, every day, every time. It means soldiers standing in the sun, waving down trucks, asking questions, looking under planks. And it means communities reporting suspicious movements, providing the tips that lead to seizures. The 3 men detained at the checkpoint are now in military custody. They will be questioned extensively. Intelligence gleaned from their phones, their statements, and their connections will be analyzed. It may lead to more arrests. It may uncover larger networks. It may reveal safe houses, supply routes, or planned attacks. This is how the war is won, not always in dramatic firefights, but in quiet interrogation rooms, in the patient extraction of information, in the slow, methodical dismantling of terrorist infrastructure. We must remember, however, that these men are suspects, not convicted criminals. They are entitled to fair treatment and due process. The military has a responsibility to investigate thoroughly and to distinguish between willing collaborators and those who may have been coerced or deceived. Justice must be served, but it must be served carefully.
So, what does this mean for you, the ordinary citizen? There are lessons here that go beyond the Northeast. First, awareness. Terrorism and insurgency rely on the ordinary-looking ordinary. A pickup truck full of planks could be carrying something else. A market stall selling textiles could be supplying uniforms to terrorists. A phone call between 2 friends could be coordinating a supply run. We must all be aware that the enemy hides in plain sight. Second, cooperation. If you see something suspicious, a vehicle loaded in a way that doesn't make sense, people asking unusual questions about roads or checkpoints, bulk purchases of items that seem excessive, report it. You don't need to play hero. You don't need to investigate. Just make a call. Let the professionals do their job. Third, patience. Checkpoints are inconvenient.
They slow down travel, they cause delays, they sometimes frustrate drivers. But every time you are stopped and searched, remember why. Remember the 20 tire tubes, remember the 37 million naira, remember the cutlasses and the mobile phones. That inconvenience is the price of safety. Zagazola Makama, a counter-insurgency and security expert in the Lake Chad region, has been documenting these operations for years. His reporting provides a window into the relentless work being done by Nigerian troops. He emphasizes that the arrest and seizure at FOB Chabbal are part of ongoing efforts to disrupt ISWAP supply networks and curb terrorist activities across the northeast region. This is not a war that makes headlines every day. It doesn't always generate dramatic footage or breaking news alerts, but it is happening every single day in the heat and dust of Borno by soldiers who leave their families and risk their lives so that we can sleep a little safer. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you thought about the troops at a checkpoint somewhere? When was the last time you prayed for them, or appreciated them, or even just acknowledged that they exist? They are there, right now, standing in the sun, looking under planks, asking questions, protecting us all.
The vehicle has been impounded. The items have been seized. The suspects are in custody. The investigation continues. And somewhere out there, an ISWAP logistics officer is realizing that his shipment didn't arrive, that his fighters won't get their tire tubes, that their motorcycles will soon break down, that their uniforms will wear out with no replacements, that their phones are now silent. This is how pressure builds. This is how insurgencies crumble. Not in one dramatic battle, but in 1,000 small victories. A checkpoint here, an interception there, a steady denial of the supplies that keep terror alive. The troops of FOB Chabbal will be back at their posts tomorrow morning. Another vehicle will approach, another search will begin, and the war will continue. As we reflect on this story, let us remember that security is not something that happens to us. It is something we participate in. The military provides the shield, but we provide the eyes. We provide the information. We provide the cooperation.
If you are traveling through the northeast, cooperate with checkpoints. If you see something suspicious, report it. If you know someone who might be involved in terrorist logistics, find a way to speak up. Lives depend on it. And to the troops of Operation HADIN KAI, to the soldiers at FOB Chabbal, to the intelligence officers questioning suspects, to the civilian JTF patrolling their communities, we say thank you. Thank you for the early mornings. Thank you for the routine searches. Thank you for looking under the planks. Before you go, I need you to do something. Drop a comment below. Tell us what you think about this interception. Do you believe the military is winning the logistics war? What more can communities do to help? Let's get this conversation going. And if you support our troops and believe in the fight for peace, like this video and subscribe to the channel. We will continue to bring you these stories, the ones that don't always make headlines, but matter just as much. The road to peace is long. It is paved with checkpoints and interceptions, with seized tire tubes and recovered cash. But with every vehicle stopped, every item seized, and every suspect detained, we move a little closer. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and never forget that the war against terror is won or lost in the hearts and minds of ordinary people like you.